some green olives lately, and I ended up buying more things, but it was only like $25 and something, so it wasn't that bad. But I decided I would come in the kitchen again and make a video for you. So we're going to jump into it. Remember that zucchini I made? We're going to use that again. And got some handy dandy kitchen shears today, cutting board knife, onions already peeled. And I found this fun lighter, which I think is just a great idea. Um, that I got last year, I think around Christmas time. But look at this. Look at it. Look at it. It's rechargeable and it uses like a little electrical situation to light the stove. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, let's get started. So first I'm just going to start onions. Onions don't always bother me a whole lot. Some are stronger than others though, I will say. So I left a little bit of the peel on there. And I thought that I was picking up some other kind of fish, but it turns out I grabbed tilapia, but we're gonna flow with it. I used to buy tilapia a lot, but then I switched. All right, so just gonna slice this down the middle first. Right, turn them down, and that actually maybe this is one reason I don't always tear up as much. Once you slice it, turn the open side down. And I'm going to go in half again. You can see that. And then I'm just going to slice this, oops, that outer layer there. So I slice the onion in half. And they don't have to be, absolutely 100% perfect. I'll show you again on this one. So slicing the half in half. Then I'm going to turn it and go parallel to that cut. I'm sorry, perpendicular to that cut. And just slice somewhat thin slices. The last one's a little bit to get where you want it to be. But got that sliced up. I'm going to take some of the zucchini. You can either use your knife. I'm just going to dice this into smaller pieces to go around the fish. Kind of top it, and I'm just dicing it. Put that right next to the onion. Or you can grab your kitchen shears. Grab a couple of those spares that you made, if you made spare shaped ones. If not, you can take some of the wider ones and just cut them down. I'm just cutting them into like little half-inch or so 1-inch dices. So you can keep doing that. All right. So these are already cooked, so they don't need to go in right away because you don't want to cook the stuffing out of them, right? Leave some goodness, and those can go in more toward the end. And the olives, I actually wanted to get them to snack on, but then I thought about, well, you know what? I can cook with these too. So I decided I'd try some on the fish. So a couple more here. This zucchini. And if you didn't catch the other video, how the zucchini was cooked and seasoned, you can go back and check out my last video that I was in the kitchen with. I'm going to open these olives here. I just got green olives this time. Take some of those out of there. So I have not always been an olive fan. Olives were one of the things that I trained myself to like. Like I trained myself to like my eggs over medium. I'm going to cut these in like probably 3 slices each. They're just, regular size green olives with a pimento in the middle. And a lot of times I find that I prefer black olives over green olives because to me the taste isn't as strong. Sometimes green olives can be like super salty. But I've been wanting green olives lately. And I didn't find the exact ones I was looking for, I don't think, but that's okay. We're going to flow with it. It's all good. Flexibility is good. Actually, I think I'm going to grab some more of those because I want the olives to have a presence today on this fish. All right. So, slice. So this is what we're working with so far. I got the raw onion here. Got the cooked zucchini and the olives. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the fire going, and it's actually fire because this is a gas stove. And so I have issues with this front burner sometimes, and a lot of times you can turn on the back burner and then turn on the front burner and it'll light. But sometimes, like today, not usually, but today it's not lighting. So I'm going to use my handy dandy rechargeable lighter and get the stove going. All right. So while that oil is heating, I actually have some bacon. If you're not a pork fan, if you don't eat bacon or whatever, you can skip that part. And I got some tilapia. So I'm going to cut this open and give this fish a rinse. So actually, before I get into the fish, I got this. If you know, you know. If you don't know, it's not too late to learn. This is not a banana. It's not an it's not an old banana. It's a plantain. And actually, I didn't grow up eating plantain. It's something I learned about later. So I cut the ends off and then I slice the peel lengthwise. And if they're ripe, it's pretty. If they're ripe enough, it's much easier to separate the peel from the plantain. The plantain, it looks like a banana, but it has its own distinct taste. Like if you fry a banana, it's not the same as frying a plantain. So I like my plantain sweet. So actually when they're more brown and actually look like they're starting to get old, like you can see that that's still fine. The riper they are, the sweeter they tend to be. So I'm going to turn this on over here, that burner, and I'm going to slice the plantain too while I got my vegetables on. So this is how I'm slicing them. You can go bigger. I'm just slicing at an angle. You can go bigger or smaller, depending on your preference. Actually, I want some of these to be super, like a little bit extra thin compared to the others because I like for my plantain to be like a nice golden yellow color. And a hack, if your plantain isn't ripe as ripe as you want it, you can play with it. Like I put honey on them. I put honey and cinnamon on it. So you don't have to be like, I'm just going to show you what I'm doing. You don't have to be like strict with like, oh no, they're not ripe. Like there's no hope for the plantain. So I'm just getting these going in here. And you see what color they are, but once they get nice and cooked, they get this nice golden color. And this is olive oil. I cook a lot with olive oil. That's the main oil I cook with. It's good for you. All olive oils are not created equally. I actually have heard that the really, really good stuff that I've heard it doesn't get shipped over here. Somebody tell me if that's accurate, if you know about olive oil, but actually I'm pretty sure on some of the olive oil that I've bought before, it's like guarded, like it's like a legal thing where they like, legally like set protection around olive oil in Italy. So that's interesting because that's, not something we necessarily think about. While that's going, I'm going to get some rice started. Today I am using a Korean medium grain rice. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it looks like it's Jengsumi or Jeongsumi. That's what I'm using today. There's a trick. If you're not comfortable with this trick, the recipe for rice, where you don't have to drain it at the end, is you want to do half the amount of rice as you do water. So that's what I, grew up knowing for measuring rice. And then later, I was also taught that my mom knew this trick. But I was also taught that you can use like up to the line of your finger to measure the water level above the rice. And if that water level above the rice reaches to the line of your finger, then you know you've got the right amount. If it's too little, you need to add water. If it's too much, you need to take water away. Otherwise, your rice might be more soggy rather than a little more al dente, I guess you could say. So I'm gonna go with that. That's pretty good. Some people rinse their rice. I didn't grow up rinsing rice. You can if you want to. I also grew up putting some salt in oil, like olive oil, or actually butter. Probably more so what I grew up with at the time. So I'm gonna throw some salt in there. I'm gonna skip the oil today, but I also grew up putting salt and oil in the rice when I cook it. But if you want more like how, so this oil should be hot, sorry. I am pausing in sentences, but if you want your rice to be how like more traditional Asian style, you probably just want to rinse it maybe and then add the water. So right now I'm just putting the onions in, let them get started. The raw onion. So raw onion in the olive oil. And then I've got some pre-peeled organic garlic cloves that I found. So I'm just gonna chop those up a little bit. And they don't have to be perfect, but you can chop them finely if you want, or if you want them bigger, you can chop them bigger. Mine are gonna be somewhere in between. So that's enough for that. And I'm gonna throw this garlic in there too. So I'm gonna actually turn the stove up a little bit so it's closer to high than it is to medium. Now, while that's going, I'm going to open this fish up and give it a rinse. And also get the bacon ready. So I'm done working with my vegetables right now, I think. So let me just get this bacon cut open. And again, I'm experimenting. Probably not something that's never been done before, but it's not something that I always cook either. So, but it's fun to try new things. It's fun I used to watch the Cooking Network like all the time, and I would get inspired by the Cooking Network, and then I go and like try to make something similar. That was a season in my life where I would do that. It's like I got like addicted to the Cooking Network and had to stop watching it because it was too much. it was like an addiction. All right. So I'm just going to leave the fish in this package and get it seasoned. But I think what I'm going to do is slice them in half. So tilapia usually comes like this. It's got this little cut. I'm just going to slice it right down and season these up. Handy dandy kitchen shears. Slice right down the middle. And another thing, on the thicker ends, like fish is pretty easy to cook with, but sometimes these ends can get a little thick. If you want to cut those thicker ends in half and then kind of cut it down, you can. Or if you just want to kind of monitor them and just make sure that they get cooked through, you can just slice it right down like I showed you the first time, like that. But watch those thicker ends, make sure they get cooked through too. So it's gonna cut that right down the middle. All right. Get these onions a stir over here. I'll show you what that's looking like. Here's what the onion looks like. And before I continue, the onion and garlic actually, before I continue with the fish, let me come over here and give this plantain a flip and see how it's looking. All right, so you can see how it's getting like a golden brown color. This one is, that I just flipped over. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit higher. Whoops, I flipped one in the stove, but I wiped the stove before I started cooking, so let me, there, anyway. Flip these on over, get some nice golden brown plantain. So the trick with cooking that I was taught is you cook the things that are going to take longer first. And this doesn't necessarily take a whole long time to do, but since I was getting like the vegetables out of the way, I decided to go ahead and work with a plantain. And this iron skillet should keep them warm anyway. So just flip all of those over. Come on, flip for me. Flip over. Hopefully you can see this okay. So this plantain, I didn't add honey or cinnamon. I'm just cooking it like it is. It was pretty ripe. I've cooked them probably even riper than this. And some people don't like sweet plantain as much as they like more of a savory plantain. You can also do that. But for me, I like sweet plantain. Actually, I went to Costa Rica some years back with my niece, and they cooked plantain as a side with their fish and stuff. And I don't know if that was always sweet. That might not have always been sweet, but it's kind of like a dessert for me when I cook it like this because it's nice and tasty and sweet. So I'm just going to move this onion and garlic to the sides here. I might add a little bit more oil before I put the fish in there, but let's get this fish seasoned up. Okay, so here's what I got. Got some pink Himalayan salt, some black pepper. Oops, don't want to open it that way. End up pouring too much. All right. I'm gonna throw some mustard seed actually right into the pan. Mustard seed can get pretty bitter if you use too much of it. Today I'm gonna use a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric is anti-inflammatory, like anti-cancer kind of properties. So turmeric, though, if you use too much of it in a dish, you can also make it bitter. Throw some basil on there. And some garlic powder. And have you guessed what I'm going to do with the bacon? Well, first I'm going to season the other side of this fish, and then we'll get to the bacon. So I'm going to flip those over. For somebody to be like, why you didn't season both sides? I will. I will. All of them are going to be seasoned evenly, but that's all right. So, got that pink Himalayan salt again. You can actually skip the salt too if you want. Fish and chicken really don't need a lot of added salt. You can actually learn. I'm going to turn this plantain off. There's a time where I didn't add salt when my dad was living, and I was cooking for him some because he got to the place where he had said, okay, stop adding salt to my food for his health. So I learned that you don't always need to add salt, and you can actually, like, your body, your mouth will probably adjust to it like mine did. And then once you adjust to it, you might start thinking, oh, everything's too salty. Because if you eat somebody else's food after that, then you might notice, oh, that's really salty. When it's actually like your taste buds have just adjusted. So guess what I'm going to try tonight? We're going to experiment. I'm going to take this bacon and wrap it around this fish like a ribbon. All right, so from top to bottom, like that. I'm just going to use one piece of bacon per piece of fish. I didn't add more oil. Let me add a little bit more oil. Olive oil again. Got a big old bottle of it. And we're just going to continue that process. This is actually fun. And it's fun to try new things and like see how it's going to turn out, right? Like, again, if you're not a bacon, you're not a pork eater, you do not have to do this. Throw some of these onions on top of this fish that is wrapped and in the pan now. And see if I can sneak the other fish in there too. So you could cook this in a couple batches, but I'm going to see if I can get away with how much I can get away with sneaking this other fish in here with the ones I've already got going. And make sure you press cook on your rice cooker. I just looked back to check if I did that. Thankfully, I did. So if like the bacon's too short for the fish, you can unwrap it if you want. Make it pick up some more of the seasoning. You can start it a little bit lower. See? That looks better if you're concerned about that. If it's no big deal, cool. All right. So I got two more like tiny pieces. So I'm just going to tear this one in half rather than using 2 pieces of bacon, and just wrap those, stick them on the side in there somewhere. I can fit it. And I want this to be up kind of high. I like if it browns some, gets a little bit of crust on there, rather than be soggy, which I'm taking a chance by kind of how I have the onion in there, but either way is fine. So I got the fish and bacon going, plantain, I turned that off. I'll let you see what's going on. Let me rinse my pan. My rice is in the rice cooker. Rice cookers are nice little robots to help save some time. So that's what that's looking like before it's cooked. Here's that plantain. And I'll probably turn that back on. So what I'm going to do now is grab these little olives that I sliced and start getting those around the fish. Like I said, you can wait on the zucchini. It doesn't have to go in right now. The zucchini can go in last because it's already cooked. So you can see how like this part of the fish is starting to get white. So the tricky part is going to be to make sure it's cooked long enough to cook through the bacon and the fish. So what you could do if you want, if you're concerned about it, is kind of poke some holes through like that to allow the heat to kind of get from one side to the other as much as you can, especially in the thicker ends of the fish. I'm just taking the corner of this and just poking some holes in there. And then let's take a peek at one of the ones from the middle. This would be one that's more done. So the fish is looking good, but the bacon can use some more cooking. So I'm gonna leave that there and let that do some more cooking. Meanwhile, rice is over here in the rice cooker, heating up. So now that I'm a little more free, I'm not doing like prepping and, you know, trying to cook multiple things while I'm prepping. I'm just gonna kind of stand over here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn some of these first ones like that. Nice golden brown on the edge of the fish. I do want the bacon to be more brown, so the bacon, I'm probably gonna give it another flip. The little bitty ones over here in the corner. Give that a nice little turn. So I really stuff this skillet. Probably be better if you don't stuff yours so that you don't retain as much moisture in the pan and you can keep that nice brown, more dry texture to it. And another thing you could try is you could try patting your fish dry before you put it in the oil to also take off some of that moisture before you start cooking. I really don't want to break the fish. Some of it is already cooked pretty well, so it's starting to break. If I had my hand, I could kind of use it to flip this, but it's okay. It's all good. If it breaks, it's going to be more broken once it gets eaten, so it's fine. So you can do this as like a meal prep for the week, or if you got company coming over, or if you have a big family. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big pieces and 2 little pieces. If you got little people in your house, you could give them the little ones. I just cooked the whole pack of fish. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the rest of these olives, put those on there. I do want them to catch a little of the flavor from the fish. And just kind of watch your onions at the bottom, make sure that they aren't getting too brown, too burnt. What would have been, in hindsight, probably a little bit better too, was to do the rice first, because the rice is probably gonna take like 20 minutes or so to cook. So it would have been good to do the rice first, and then that way when this is done, you could just plate them together. But it's all good. So I'm actually gonna turn this plantain back on now that I can watch it a little bit better. So it's pretty much, I mean, you could eat most of them at this stage where they are. I want to keep them warm too. Just give them a little bit more heat. This is one of the thinner slices here. And some of these aren't as brown as the middle ones. So the middle of the skillet is probably going to have a more concentrated heat. So the ones that aren't browning as well, you can switch positions, move those toward the middle, move the brown ones toward the outside to try to keep the brown ones from overcooking, or you can just take them out if they're already ready to go. All right. Tilt the middle a little bit. All right, back to our fish over here. Yeah, so ideally, you know what? I might just take some of these out just so you can see what's going on. Okay, so to give these a better chance at browning, I am going to, that one's about to break, so I'm gonna leave that one in. I am gonna take some of these out temporarily. Some of these are already pretty cooked. Just because it needs the airspace to try to get rid of like the water so that it can brown more nicely. The water needs to be able to evaporate out of the pan. Let me take these out. And let's spread this fish out a little bit better. So this one, it's split, but it's all good. Try to get it flipped over. I don't know if anyone's joining me live or not, but hi if you are. I haven't been watching that part. Get over. Flip it over. And flip for me, little fishies. All right. And watch your toppings. Make sure they aren't getting too well done. It has more room to brown now. Plantain's got a nice cooking going over here. I'm gonna give these another flip so they can brown on the other end. And I might set off the fire alarm again. I don't want to turn on the vent fan and it be like too loud. That one got too done. But I don't want to like turn on the loud vent fan, and I also don't want the fire alarm to go off. So I have a fan on, the ceiling fan, but yeah, it's all good. All right, so let's get ready. These need to come on out because some of them are getting a little bit too brown. So let's rescue them. Let's rescue the plantain. Don't forget about your fish while you're rescuing your plantain. And thankfully, the rice cooker can do its own thing. I just dropped the plantain on the stove, but it's all good. I like that. Beforehand. Come on, little plantain, get my school. So I can get you out, get you to safety. Careful, because it's probably pretty hot. Okay, and don't grab your iron skillet handle, please. All right. So that poor piece of fish, but that's more the color I like to see on the bacon, is this darker color with it. And it looks a little messy right now, but that's why you need to plate it nicely so it looks appetizing, which Might be a little hard to show you if the rice doesn't get done in time. I don't want to make the video too long. So you get the idea. Just keep it cooking like that. Now I'm gonna go hands off and focus more on the food. All right, so I'm gonna take this one out. The ones that are the ones you're ready to take out, you can just go in and take them out so you can replace them with the other. And I'm gonna take out a lot of this onion now too, just because I don't want it to burn. And the olives. You know, olives don't need to be in that long because they're already soft. They don't take a long time to, like, you know, have to cook and all that. Let's get this fish and everything out. Let's rescue it from the cooking. And then I'm just gonna put this other fish in, and with this second batch, it had already started cooking. I had just taken it out. Fire alarm's really not gonna like me probably in a little bit. Let's keep this up. I just want to brown this a little bit better. While that's browning, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the zucchini so it can reheat. I'll just add some health to your dish. Add some more vegetable content. You could throw some tomato in there if you want to, if you're a tomato fan. I like tomatoes sometimes more than others. Fire alarm's being good right now. Hopefully it stays that way. All right, so we're coming up on 40 minutes for this video. My rice is still cooking. I do have some pre-cooked rice, a little bit. Let me see where my rice. So my fresh rice is still gonna need a little bit of time, but let me just show you. I'm gonna warm up some rice that I already had cooked. I'm gonna throw it right on the side here. And then I can kind of show you how it looks plated. Alrighty. So you can put your rice down first when you're plating it. Let me just warm it up a little bit more. For the sake of time and finishing this up, won't prolong it too much. And for me, like, you know, just make it look pretty. It's just, you know, Doesn't have to be perfect. Let's get some of those green vegetables, some of that zucchini, some of that onion, olives. Just put that right on top of the rice. Or if you don't want it on top of your rice, you can eat it separately on the side. Or if you want your fish completely separately, you can do that and just put the greens on top of the fish. Or you can eat them all individually, however you want to do that. So I'm going to take a portion of that fish and bacon. I'm just going to put it all on top. And after that, you can line the side with some plantain. And if you want, if you like hot sauce, you can eat. Growing up in our house, hot sauce was part of things. For some of us more than others. There were seasons where I didn't like it as much. I grew up with a lot of siblings. I have a lot of siblings, so there were a lot of us in the house. Let me show you what it looks like. So here's the final product. So you got your bacon top fish right here. If you want, you can make an olive oil top, like I said. Grab some some olives rather, and put them on top of your fish. I got my green vegetables on top because I just want it on the rice with everything. Rice is on the bottom, and lined it up with some plantain. You can throw some hot sauce on here. You can throw some sriracha, some, whatever, what you like your fish with. You can sprinkle some lemon on there if you want, some fresh squeezed lemon. But yeah, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you try it. If you try some kind of alternative, maybe you throw off the bacon and you add something else, let me know what you do. All right, have a good day.